So let's summarize what we've done so far, in case you're a bit confused. So we have now our source folder and our dist folder. Our source folder will only be used during development, and our dist folder will be used in production. So actually the source folder will not be included in the final theme, only the dist folder, right? So we have the assets, which contains the images folder. Anything we put inside the images folder gets compressed and then moved to the images folder in the dist folder. We haven't done the JavaScript task yet, but here we'll have the raw ES6 JavaScript files, and then we will compile it and move it to the JavaScript file in the dist folder. The SAS folder will compile the admin.scss and bundle.scss and then move them to the CSS folder in the dist folder. Anything else you add to the assets folder, it needs to be copied to the dist folder, since as I mentioned the source folder will not actually be included in the final theme, so we need to copy it to the dist folder. Alright, so in the last lecture we had this problem that whenever we delete something from the source, it's not deleted from the dist. So the best way to tackle that is to actually, whenever we want to run our styles or any tasks that we created, to delete the dist folder entirely and then recreate it from the beginning. So let's create a task now that will delete a folder generally. So I'm gonna Google NPM del, and it's a famous package. So let's install it, and just I'm gonna save dev instead of save. And it's done. Let's see how to use it. Let's actually do it directly from in the Gulp file. So let's import del from del. And create a new task. Let's call it clean. So we need to clean the folder first before running any tasks. And export. And this time we will return the del function, and it takes an array of paths to delete. So in our case we want to delete the dist folder, so just simply give it a dist. And the delete function returns a JavaScript promise. And if you return a JavaScript promise in a Gulp task, you also don't need to do the done signal kind of thing. And one more thing, in ES6, if you use arrow functions and your function body is only one line, you can actually skip the curly braces and the return keyword. So you can do that, and it's exactly the same thing. So let's try now and run the delete function. And we have the folder here and the command line. So gulp clean, and as you can see it's deleted. So now it doesn't make sense to actually every time we need to run our styles task, to run the clean first and then run the styles and so on. So we need to do them in one task. So to do that, we'll use a new gulp function, and this function will run multiple tasks concurrently. So let's create a new task, and I'll call it build. So this task will build our project. It will clean the dist folder first and then run all the tasks that we create, the styles and the images and copy. So I need to type the const keyword, and then gulp.series. What this will do is you pass it multiple tasks, and it will run each task one after the other. It will wait for the first one to finish first, and then run the second one, and so on. And that's because we want to clean the folder first, remove the folder first before running any task. So run clean, and then any task that we type in the other arguments will only run after the clean is done. So what if we want to run tasks at the same time? We use gulp.parallel. So we have the styles and the images and copy. We actually don't care which one of these run first or finish first. They can run at the same time, and that will cause no problem. But clean, however, needs to be done first. So that's why we use the gulp.series. So let's try now and run the build function task. Gulp build. And as you can see, starting build and starting clean, and then it finished clean first before starting the others, and the others started at the same time. So starting styles, images, and copy, and then they finish whenever they finish, and then build is done. If we now open the dist folder, you'll see the old asset folder is gone now, and the image that we deleted is just created from scratch, the dist folder. So the build task we will use it when we want to build our files for production. But during development, we would like to do the same thing. So I'm gonna create another task called maybe dev. So I wanna do exactly the same thing, but after building, we want to watch for changes because we're still developing. So we'll run the watch task after the styles and images and copy tasks are done. So we build the files first, and then we watch for changes. So currently we are only watching for changes for the SAS files only. So let's watch for also the images and the copy tasks. So for the images, we would like to detect when any image is added to the images folder. So we can actually use this path. So I'm gonna type path .images.src, and once something is changed, we would like to run the images task. And same thing for the copy. So path.other.src, run the copy task. So let's try the dev task now. Gulp dev. So it ran all our tasks like the build one, and then it's watching for changes. So if maybe you can add an image, or maybe you can add a file to the assets folder so we can see if the copy task will run. And as you can see, starting copy and finish copy. And just to make sure, it's added to this folder. One more thing, I just realized we don't have a default task. So I think we can use the dev task as the default one. So now when we run gulp, the dev task will run. Another thing, as I mentioned, the build task is meant to be run when we want to compile our files for production, right? So whenever we run it, we'll probably I'm gonna Control C to stop watching. Whenever we run the build task, we'll have to use the production flag. And this is something that we might forget. So there is a more convenient way to run tasks in NPM. In the package.json file, there's a scripts key here in the JSON file. We can actually write our own scripts. So I'm going to remove the default one here and And let's create one called start, and this will start the development task. So it would run Gulp, and another one we call it build, and this will run Gulp build with the production flag. So to run these NPM scripts, we can type, instead of Gulp, we can type NPM run build, and as you can see, it runs Gulp build with the production flag. And we can also run the start task, and this will start watching. So this is something convenient that you can do with NPM. Let's carry on with the other tasks in the next lecture.